14:20 in the morning for this January the 29th, 2023. Today's show is brought to you by Barn Burner Hockey and barnburnerhockey.ca. Go to barnburnerhockey.ca and use promo code 1420BARN and get 10% off on their all-natural hockey products and apparel at barnburnerhockey.ca. Great stuff out there from the boys from Halifax. Make sure you guys check it out today. Get some stuff for your to make your equipment and yourself smelling a little bit nicer after a hard game. Stuff for all levels of hockey and all ages and everything else for at barnburnerhockey.ca. Got some great news from the Belly Up Network. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show when we get to the end of it. But want to get into this EBUG situation that the Edmonton Oilers found themselves in last night. Stuart Skinner came down with like they said, a non-COVID situation. So I don't know why they had to bring that up, but they did. I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means, so I don't know, but I just don't know why they have to start the controversy. I guess if you don't say it, then people just start speculating, and then the freedom fighters come out in the whole bit. But anyways, the Oilers, like I said, got an EBUG situation last night. An EBUG used to be called a computer virus, but an EBUG, for those of you who don't know, is the emergency backup goaltender. They end up calling up Matt Berlin from the U of A Golden Bears last night, a third string guy for the Bears last night. The Bears had their own game against the University of Regina Cougars last night, so their other two guys were unavailable. Anyways, Berlin got into the game last night late in the third period with 2 minutes and 26 seconds left against the Chicago Blackhawks. The Oilers were up 7-3. Game was over real quick. That Chicago team, how they can go into Calgary and win that hockey game the other night 5-1, and then they pull up a stinker last night in Edmonton. Well, they're not very good. We talked about with Adam Kowalski on Friday. If you haven't listened to that show, guys, make sure you guys go to that. It was a fun little conversation with Adam. I never met him before. It was nice. It was a nice talk, and it was good talk about baseball and his time in Swift Current. But anyways, we'll get back to the Berlin story, the EBUG situation. You remember it happened in 2020. The Carolina Hurricanes were forced in that situation in a game in Toronto. David Ayers, I think was his name. A.Y. Ayers was his name. He got in late, or in the second period, I think it was, in a game against Toronto. Gave up the first two shots. Wasn't good. It was like, oh boy, this could turn out sideways for Ayers, and it didn't. The Carolina Hurricanes shut it all down, and it ended up being a victory for him. And the rest of history. Ended up on all kinds of talk shows and the like, and he made a name for himself in his 15 minutes of fame. But anyways, last night, Berlin, he got in at the urging of the Edmonton Oilers and their staff or the Oilers players, actually McDavid, I guess, turned to head coach Jay Woodcroft and said, hey, let's put this kid in, see what he can do. So Woodcroft went and said, hey, you're going in, get stretched out, you're going to go in. And they passed it by Campbell as well. They got done deal. So he went in. He only had to make the one save in the 2 minutes and 20 whatever seconds that he got to play. So it was a situation that turned out well for the Oilers. And like I said, and for David Ayers a few years back. But there's got to be a better way that the NHL can do this. It's such a slippery slope. And there's such a fine line between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. Not so much for the Oilers last night. The Oilers are, since I gave them the stern finger wagging a few weeks back, they're 10-3-2, I think it is. They're playing really well. They have a chance to win their division. They got the 14-20 seal of approval one morning, and I kind of gave it to them a little bit. But no, they've been playing really well. But this game could have meant a lot if the Chicago Blackhawks had a fighter's chance to get in the playoffs. Let's say that they had to play this kid for a longer period of time, or it could mean a lot for other teams trying to make the playoffs where Chicago can't. Like if Chicago had to use the EBUG situation, use this guy to go in and the like, it doesn't make a bunch of sense how the NHL does this. It could mean a lot for other teams that are in a playoff hunt. It could mean a loss that could come to haunt your team later on. It shouldn't come down to a goaltender, but like I always say, you show me a good goalie, I'll show you a good coach. And to have a guy who's not of National Hockey League level getting into a National Hockey League game that matters, that don't make a whole bunch of sense. So the NHL has to do something to get out of the situation, because you have guys in the press box who can come out and jump in, healthy scratches, guys who are minor league call-ups and everything else. And I understand that you don't have a minor league goalie sitting around, but maybe this is something that the National Hockey League has to take a long, hard look at, and having maybe a guy on the roster or a guy that they can have around, like a guy that should be playing maybe the second stringer in the American League or something like that, or have a rotation of your first stringer from the American League team or your second stringer for your American League team going on a rotational basis to say, hey, we need you up here no matter what. You're going to practice with a big team. You'll get to play once. You won't get to play much, and maybe they don't have to put it against the salary cap, because that's got to be the reason why they don't have a goalie sitting around not playing. Goalies need to play. I understand that, and they need to get not just practice time, but they need to get playing time to get better. Practice is one thing, but playing at the National Hockey League level on the ice in the games is very important. So the NHL has to find a better way for this to come about. I mean, it hasn't come back to haunt them yet, but just the one time that it does, and it's your team that it affects, you're going to be a little bit pissed off when a Matt Berlin or David Ayers gets in there for a game at the end of the season that might end up costing your team a playoff spot. Yeah, you should try to stay away from making the playoffs on the last day of the season, but there's times where you can't do anything about it. And that's just the way things roll, and you want to give yourself the best chance to win a hockey game. Or any sport. I mean, you wouldn't grab the trainer of the Wichita whatever and have him pitching in a game in the major league level, right? So there's got to be a way the National Hockey League can do this and find a guy to travel with the team on a consistent basis. Maybe to have, like I said, not have it hit the salary cap, because these teams they're all under the cap or right at the cap level. Like they need the money, so only use that money when the guy's being paid, or if he's not on the roster or something. Find a way to do it. There's guys way smarter than me who could figure that out, lawyers and accountants and all that kind of stuff, but there's got to be a better way than having a guy who is sitting at home studying whatever course he's taking at U of A, and getting told, hey, you might be playing tonight, you go get your stuff and head down to the rink. I mean, it's a great story for Berlin, and his hockey DB page will never change. He'll have a 1,000 save percentage and a goals against average of 0 on his hockey D page for the Edmonton Oilers for the rest of his life. But and it's a great story for him, but it's not a great story for a team that might have needed that win. And the other thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, yeah, there was only 2 minutes left last night, but let's see if the game was closer. Would they have put Campbell in? Probably not. And it's kind of a kick in the pills for actual National Hockey Leaguers that like the Chicago Blackhawks, no matter how bad a team that they do have right now. It is a bit of a kick in the pills for guys looking down the other end of the ice and saying they're kind of making fun of us a little bit here. They're putting in some guy who was studying biology a couple hours ago. They're putting him in against us. I'm a National Hockey League like Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves and the like. They have actual National Hockey League players. Those 2 Hall of Fame guys right there. And it's got to be a kind of a kick in the pills. Yeah, like I said, to put a guy in like that, it just I think it's a really bad look in the National Hockey League. And like I said, there's got to be a better way they could figure this out so they're not in a situation where it could affect a playoff race. It could affect another team's playoff race. It's kind of the bigger thing, because a win or a loss because a guy couldn't go, and you have to find a guy who's like I said, he's the 3rd string for the U of A Golden Bears. He's got decent numbers, 890 save percentage and a 2.9, 2.8 goals against average. I think those are numbers. It doesn't much matter, but they got to find a different way to do it. And I think having a rotation of American League guys, because American League teams, yes, they want to win. I get that. But you have a rotation of guys, and because if those teams don't win down the American League, it doesn't much matter. So the developmental league for the teams, for the National Hockey League guys to have guys ready to go, and having a goaltender there, I think is one of the ways they can do it, and having a guy ready to go all the time, just in case situations, because it would be a really, really bad look. And if it was your team that was faced with a guy, or if your team wasn't even playing, it's your team that's faced with a guy not putting out the best lineup, you'd be a little bit pissed off on a end of the season basis, or you look back on a game that maybe that team should have won and we'd be in the playoffs. I mean, one game shouldn't make or break your season, but you can't win the Stanley Cup in January, but you can sure lose it, right? That's the old baseball thing that I use. That you can't win the World Series in May, but you can sure lose it, or April. You want to put out the best lineup you can, night in, night out. Anyways, there's my rant for the day for 14:20 in the morning. Manscaped word of the day, let's call it EBUG. Get your Manscaped Get your picture in of your beard, the whole bit. You don't know the story for the beard hedger 2000, I call it. Get your pictures into us. We got one left to give away, so that's from our friends at Manscaped. By the way, okay, a belly up situation. We're number 3 on the list of all the podcasts in the 70 podcasts that are on the Belly Up Network. We're number 3. We fell a little short of our goal so far for the month of January. But if you guys could just listen to our show all day long after listening to this, if that would be greatly appreciated, and listen to some older shows. There's a bunch of great content that we put out last week. Interview I did with Tyler Malacca on the Hey Blue podcast, Adam Kowalski on the Foul Tips podcast we did on Friday. It was got out yesterday, so make sure you guys listen to those shows. Anyways, happy birthday to Dominic Hasek, who I think is the most unorthodox goaltender ever played the game, but also the greatest goaltender ever played the game. He turned 58 years old today. Hall of Fame goaltender. You know all about Hasek. If you don't go look up his hockey DB, it's something else. That guy, he kind of struggled to get in the league, but then once he got his foothold when he left Chicago, because he was behind Belfour for a while there, ended up in Buffalo, and then the history was made. Buffalo, and then he ended up winning 2 Stanley Cups with the Detroit Red Wings at the tail end of his career. 6-time Vezina winner, and probably his greatest moment, I would think, in his hockey career probably would have been the 98 Olympics when they won the gold medal and they beat the Gretzky sitting on the bench for the penalty shot. Ray Bourque shot. I still can't believe that decision by Mark Crawford on that one. But anyways, so that's Dominic Hasek, 98 Olympics, and that's a long time ago. Those Olympics. There's 25 years. The first time the NHL went to the Olympics, so it was something to behold on that one. Yeah, Hasek was great. So happy birthday, Dominic Hasek. And on this day in 1985, Jari Kurri of the Edmonton Oilers scored his 100th point in just his 39th game, playing with Wayne Gretzky. Tough go. Gretzky obviously made Kurri, but having Kurri didn't hurt Gretzky either. Like they were a great combo back in the day. They were a fantastic thing to behold on a nightly basis. Anyways, I got a quick clip of the interview I did with Adam Kowalski on Friday about the Chicago Blackhawks. He's a Chicago Blackhawks guy. He listens to that or used to go to the games at the United Center. We can get him for $5, he was saying. So I got that on here. Anyways, if you're going to a game today or tomorrow or next week, make sure you go to SeatGeek and SeatGeek.com. Use promo code 1420POD at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20. But most of all today, make sure you guys go to barnburnersports or barnburnerhockey.ca. Use promo code 1420 barn and save yourself 10% on all their all-natural hockey products and apparel. There we go. 14:20 in the morning. I'm a little bit over again. I'm trying to hit that 11:48 spot and everything else to make it 14:20, but I'm giving her a shot. Thanks for listening to our show. Thanks for all the downloads this month. Let's keep it going into January and see where this crazy dream of mine can go. I know it's a crazy dream, but it's my dream. Anyways, it doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. Have a good day, folks, and enjoy the football games. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.